Hello everyone, and Bon Camino. Welcome to my first ever TBR. This is going to be my second video ever on my booktube, and it's going to be my first TBR. This is going to be my TBR for June 2020, and probably well past that because I'm not going to get through all these books that I'm going to list today in this month. That's way past like my normal reading. I've got 5 books here that I've picked out that are things that I've either started, am currently reading, we're planning to read soon, and some of them are books that I abandoned, and actually some of them have 2 books in one volume, and I'm halfway through one of them. I'll show you that in a minute. And then in addition to that stack, I also just received minutes ago this package from Amazon, and who knows what's in it? Well, I know what's in it, but you guys don't know what's in it. So I thought it'd be fun to just open this up on camera. I've got my handy dandy scissors. Let's find out what I got today from Amazon. Now, what if it's a surprise? What if it's not what I think it is? Oh no, it's definitely what I think it is. So, these are 2 books that I've ordered that I wanted to kind of read to start out my booktube channel. First one is Castle of Otranto by Horace Walpole. This is considered like the first ever Gothic novel, and I have read this before. I think it was at least like 12 years ago though. So I remember it, I remember the story. But since I want to get back into like reading some Gothic fiction and do kind of an overview, I thought I would start right back at the beginning, 1764, the widely considered the first Gothic novel ever. I might even have a copy of this book and I can't find it. So I just bought a new one on Amazon. It was like $9. It's Oxford World Classics edition. It definitely has a different cover than the one that I had before. This might be the 3rd edition because this says new edition, and maybe the one that I had was the 2nd edition with a different cover. I don't remember, but I just definitely would have remembered this like weird shade creature. And then the other book that came in this little package, let's see that here, is, oh, tiny corner's damaged. It's Clara Reeves, and it's The Old English Baron. This is got a much less inspiring cover on it. It's just kind of bland. So this book is actually, a lot of people consider just like a rewrite or a ripoff, if you want to put it that way, of the Castle of Otranto. Old English Baron is probably like the 2nd major book that you would study in the Gothic. A lot of people have read Castle of Otranto, maybe for like your class at college or university or uni if you're British. I just like making fun of saying uni. This is kind of less read just because it's not like a monumental work in the genre that you would fit into like one semester class about the Gothic. Both of them together probably are not 400 pages. The Gothic started out very slight. It's not like Mysteries of Udolpho or some huge text like that. These are kind of shorter stories. So I think I will definitely burn through both of these in June and do some reviews and some Gothic, talk about the Gothic genre. So what I'm reading right now is Soren Kierkegaard, and I've actually already read Fear and Trembling, and I'm reading the 2nd book in this volume, which is The Sickness Unto Death. So these are 2 books written pretty far apart in Soren Kierkegaard's life. Fear and Trembling is his most famous book, and it's written early in his life. Sickness Unto Death is also a very famous and well-written book by him, but came much later in his life. They weren't published together normally, but for some odd reason, this Princeton University Press edition has the 2 of them together, maybe because they were both have an introduction and translation from Lowry. So maybe they're connected in that way, that they have the same translator and editor. But it's a weird pairing, and I'll talk about this pretty soon. I'll talk about both books probably in one review. Last month, I was really on a Kafka kick, and I was trying to read a ton of Kafka, and eventually, I got like 2,000 pages of Kafka read, and I got Kafka fatigue. I know, it happens to everyone, right? You just get sick of turning into an insect all of a sudden. What I was reading when Kafka fatigue set in was the complete short stories of Kafka in one edition from Schocken Books. And this is a kind of beautiful edition because it's literally all of his short fiction. There's all of these weird compilations of Kafka that have this story or that story, and it's been published and re-edited. This one is nice because it literally just has everything. Anything else that they could put in here is redundant because it'd just be an excerpt of something else because parts of his short stories showed up in other short stories. So if you just buy this one, which I think was like $12 on Amazon, boom, you're done. It's all of Kafka's short stories. Other than that, you just have his diaries, his letters, and he wrote 3 novels. So mostly he's famous for short stories. I didn't get quite as far into this as I thought I was going to be before the fatigue set in of Kafka. So finishing off Kafka's short stories is definitely on the list to do very quickly, right away, if I can get back into the Kafka mood. While I was in my big Kafka spin, it also re-inspired me to read something about Prague, and for some odd reason, this just came up in my introductions or my suggestions online when I was doing some shopping, and I ended up getting a copy for like $4. It's a scholarly book, and it's a nonfiction book called Women of Prague, and it's a study, ethnic diversity and social change from the 18th century to the present, written about some of the lesser-known female authors and intellectuals in Prague that are often overlooked when people are talking about Max Brod and Kafka and everything that was going on in the intellectual ferment in the kind of divided, crazy place that was historical Prague. The women are often left out of the narrative, and it's a big missed opportunity. So this presents a lot of information about female writers that's not available in English because a lot of their works haven't been translated. It's got profiles of 13 different authors in it. So I thought for $4, and it's probably a little bit under 400 pages covering 13 different authors and writers and women thinkers, that it would be a good investment, and it'd be kind of like a counterbalance to the kind of male-dominated histories and literatures of Prague that I've read. So it was just interesting. Honestly, I don't know if I'll get through this anytime soon, but for $4, it can sit in a shelf for a while. This is a book I just pulled out that I actually kind of forgot that I started. It's Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan. My joke on this is the Pilgrim's Progress, does he make any at all? This is like one of those allegorical tales. It was a bestseller in its time, in the 1700s, but it's kind of hard to read now. It's kind of like if you took that story Everyman, if you know that story, and turned it into like a book-length novel. It's slow progress. The Pilgrim's Progress, no pun intended, is slow progress. I'm going to try to get through this. Let's see. When I stopped, I was 50 pages into it. And God, it's 400 pages long. The Pilgrim's Progress, will he make any at all? Speaking of books that I gave up on, this is very sad. This is the last book that I bought at Barnes & Noble in person, back when Barnes & Noble were open before coronavirus, and it is The Hunchback of Notre Dame. So the story with this is that I love the story of The Hunchback of Notre Dame, which is just called Notre Dame in French. It's not called The Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's just called Notre Dame. And I love Victor Hugo, and I read Les Miserables, and it took me 50 days to read Les Mis. It's probably the longest fiction book I've ever read. I think Varney the Vampire might be longer, but it's the longest good book that I've read. It's probably the greatest novel that I've ever read in my life. It changed my life reading it. I knew the story. I'd seen the movies, adaptations, been to the musical, had the soundtrack, can sing every line of the musical, read the book, and oh my God, the book changed my life. So I'm like, well, I love the Gothic, and I love horror, and I love Victor Hugo, and I love his writing and the Middle Ages, and this is going to be great. I'm going to read this. Like, I need to get through another Victor Hugo. I need more Victor Hugo in my life. And then you read Victor Hugo, and you remember that Victor Hugo, like, he'll have a chapter where there's some action, and like it'll involve like a building with Gothic architecture, and then he'll stop and he'll have a chapter that's like, let's talk about Gothic architecture. And he did the same thing in Les Mis. So I got bogged down, and I couldn't get through it. I had to stop. I lost my page here. I had to stop at page 116. And this is, once again, slightly over 500 pages. So we've got another 400 pages to go of this. I felt bad abandoning it. I felt bad abandoning poor abandoned Quasimodo, but I just couldn't do it. So we're going to try, put it on our TDR, and maybe that'll inspire us to do some reading. So here's the whole stack if you want to see it. I can't lift it. It's too heavy. There it is. There's 7 books that I've selected for my TDR. We've got, let's see, Gothic fiction, existential philosophy, Kafka short stories, nonfiction women in Prague, 17th century allegory, and Victor Hugo's unreadable book with an amazing story. So that's my first ever TBR, guys. I'll do a wrap up at the end of the month to see how far I get in this. I'm gonna figure 3. I'm gonna say 3 out of the 7 books will be finished by the end of the month, and I'll have made progress in at least 1 more. So let's say 3.5. Let's say half of this TBR I'm gonna get through this month. Not by page count, by volume count, because I plan on knocking through those 2 Gothic classics real quick and getting my body count up there like real quick. So some of the longer stuff, like Victor Hugo, I don't know. He might be on the TDR for next month too. So thanks for checking me out. Please like and subscribe. I'm trying to set up this channel and be able to talk to people about the kind of books that I'm into and that you might also be into. So like, subscribe, do all those things, hit a bell, comment. Even if you hate it, dislike it, I guess. Those always make me sad though. Don't dislike it. Don't dislike it. Never mind that I said that. That's a bad idea. All right, talk to you soon, guys. Bye.